Hello and welcome to Industry Insight Sessions from Change in Education. My name is Amos Madra and I'm a careers advisor for Change in Education. And in this Industry Insight session, we get to speak to experts about their own career journey and get some tips and advice on how they can help you in your own career journey. Joining me today is the Manchester United and Manchester City correspondent for ESPN, Rob Dawson. Rob, a very warm welcome to you. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Glad to have you here today. Rob, I'm a huge fan of American sports. So ESPN is a huge network in my life. And I'm sure a lot of our audience here today would agree to that. Fantastic network, the basketball, American football. But these days they're huge for soccer, or what we would call football. And you've got the very fortunate position of being a correspondent of two of arguably the biggest football teams in the world. And how did you first of all get into the career of journalism, and how did you get to be this correspondent that you are for ESPN?
Well, I mean, I kind of fell into it. Really, it's not something that I had dreamt about when I was growing up. It wasn't a career that I had in mind when I was a kid at school, particularly. I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I went through school. I carried on doing subjects that I knew would keep a lot of options open to me. It wasn't until after I left university that I went back to university, to the University of Central Lancashire, to do a year-long course in journalism, that I really decided that that's what I wanted to do. And then again, I started as a news reporter on a local newspaper. I must say I had an awful lot of luck along the way in the different steps that I've managed to take, opportunities that opened up, and me being in the right place at the right time. And then, I've obviously got to take a good job at ESPN. I mean, you mentioned there that ESPN are probably a bit better known for their coverage of American sports. Obviously, they're an American broadcasting company. The pull and the viewership of the Premier League in particular makes companies like that want to get into English football, even sort of the big American broadcasting companies. And they decided a couple of years ago that they wanted to extend their coverage of the Premier League, and I was lucky enough to get one of their jobs. So a lot of luck, good timing, I suppose, on my part a little bit, but obviously very, very fortunate to do the job that I get to do.
It must be an absolute, privilege for you to work there. What's it like working for an organization like ESPN?
Yeah, I mean, it's eye-opening to see how massive they are. I don't think that we have anything really like that in the UK, apart from maybe the BBC, where you've got an organization that is so extensive, so many different outlets and arms to that business. It's not particularly apparent when you're over here because, in comparison, the London office, which is where I work out of, is fairly small. But I've been over to the States a couple of times to cover Man United's pre-season tours, and once you get to America, you get to see the reach that ESPN has. I mean, it's like you mentioned there that you only have to turn on the TV for 5 minutes before ESPN pops up. You can watch films and American programs where ESPN is referenced. Every other episode, it seems like it is part of American culture. So, it is eye-opening. It can come with its challenges. There are an awful lot of people who are involved in the day-to-day running of the business. A lot of people that you've got to deal with day to day, to kind of get your ideas through and to kind of find a way forward with the things that you've got to do every day. But it's exciting and it's fantastic to have that level of support behind you, because the size of the business is fantastic.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah, and of course it's owned by Disney, so what a great parent company to be working for. What makes a good reporter in your opinion?
Ideas, I think. It's the first thing that I learned when I went to do my training at UCLan, and then the first day of my first job was that it's not about the things that I thought that you needed, that you had to be a fantastic writer, things like that, and you had to be fantastically clever, which obviously I'm not. were byproducts, really. That the most important thing that people want to see is that you've got ideas. You work in a team a lot of the time, but also a lot of the time you're left to your own devices. It's up to you to find the things that you want to report on. That's true whether it's a local newspaper and you're covering an area of a town or a city, or whether you're a sports reporter. Ultimately, it's down to you to come up with those ideas, to chase them, to report on them, to gather the facts, to gather the voices of the people who matter to that story. And if you can do that, it's a very, very, very good start. You might think that you need an awful lot of fantastic education and fantastic qualifications, and that's not strictly true. You might think that you need to be a fantastic writer straight away. Again, that's not really true. Those are things that probably can be learned. But if you can go into your first day at university or your first day at a new job with a list of ideas that you want to pursue, that's the thing that's going to really set you apart from the other people who you're going to be competing against.
Wow, that's very interesting. That so having those ideas already ready makes you stand out, and exactly it's having that niche where you set yourself apart from everybody else. Wow, that's really interesting. Would you say hard work pays off?
Oh yeah, I mean certainly it's not a 9-to-5 job. Certainly, it's not a job that you can clock on in the morning and when it 5 o'clock rolls around in the evening, you get to clock off. You have to be prepared to work strange hours, long hours in some cases. It's one of those jobs where some days you may have a quiet day and it may be a shortish day. Other days you can find yourself working from the crack of dawn until after midnight. There are days in my job in particular, the one that I can remember is when a manager of Man United has been sacked. And that day in particular, a lot of us who did the same job didn't finish until the early hours of the morning, and that's just the way that the job is. Hard work certainly pays off. I think that's true of any career.
Fantastic. What do you enjoy the most about your job?
I mean, I think it was always the plan of mine to work in football. It was a passion of mine when I was growing up. Obviously, at one stage, wanted to be a professional footballer, like lots of young lads and girls. But I would say that you should never be in a rush to decide what you want to do. Take your time, take a varied number of different courses and subjects and lessons. Let the career find you more than you deciding that you want to be something and sticking stringently to that path, because it doesn't always work out. And actually, sometimes the best way to do it is to let a career find you, which, I mean, journalism certainly did that for me. There were times when I was growing up at school where I was panicking that I didn't really have any kind of career path. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and it wasn't until I was sort of mid-20s almost that I realized that actually you don't have to make a decision at 14, 15 and 16. You can take that time to enjoy yourself, experience different things, take different courses and see what you like and see what you don't like. If I was talking to myself now, a younger self, I would certainly remind myself of that, because I think that's important. I think sometimes that kids can feel a little bit of pressure to decide very, very early what they want to do. And I don't particularly think, in my opinion anyway, I don't particularly think that's that healthy. I think that you should be allowed to kind of to stumble into something if that's what you want, to kind of get to know what it is that you want to do later on, because there certainly isn't a rush. You're going to be working for an awful long time. So make sure that you pick wisely and make sure it's something that you really enjoy, because that's very, very important.
I think that's a very unique point of view, and it's one that you don't hear often. Let the career find you rather than you going after it. I think that's very unique. Would you say in that sort of situation, because in the kind of environment that we live, we want things instantly, what do we need to do? We need to exercise more patience, because we want things now rather than having to wait and then wait for that glorious moment when that career finds us. What can we do in between?
my personal opinion is I think it's unfair to expect a 14-year-old, say, who's picking GCSE subjects to pick subjects knowing that the career path that they want to go down. I think at 14, when you're picking GCSE subjects, you should pick what you enjoy. Again, at 16, when you're picking things maybe to do at A-level, again, I think it's quite dangerous to pick things that you think you should be doing rather than picking things that you think that you want to do and that you enjoy. I think at GCSE and A-level, if you pick subjects that you enjoy doing, that will lead you down a path to the right career. Again, at university, my advice would be don't necessarily pick a degree subject that you think you should be doing. Pick one that you want to do, that you think you're going to be good at and you're going to enjoy. Because if you enjoy learning and you enjoy your career, it's a cliche, but you'll never work a day in your life. It's a cliche because it's true. I just think that the pressure on kids at a certain age is a little bit too much. It should be a bit more relaxed. Children should be encouraged to pick subjects that they enjoy doing. And if you pick stuff you enjoy, that will lead you down the right path. It'll lead you to a career that you enjoy, instead of one that perhaps you forced upon yourself.
That's fantastic advice. And one of my favorite mottos there, find something you enjoy doing and you'll never work a day in your life. So what are your plans for the future? I'm
quite ambitious. I've always felt like I've been quite ambitious. I've never really stayed in one job too long. I would like to explore other jobs within journalism, whether that's being an editor or moving abroad, possibly to cover more events abroad. Travel. I enjoy traveling. I've always enjoyed traveling, and it's something that I would be keen to do more of. The one thing I would say is that journalism can be quite an unstable industry. It is changing because of the way that people consume their news and their content now, and it is becoming a bit more digital. Than my plans for the future are to look for more opportunities to keep learning. You can never stop learning in any career, and to get better at what you do. And hopefully, even though I'm getting older and older, I'll still be keen to learn and still be keen to get better.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? We'd never stop learning. It's a process that will continually happen throughout life. Again, some wise words there. Thanks for that, Rob. And finally, how can people find out more about you?
Well, if that's something they want to do, I've got all the social media that you would expect a football journalist to have: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. If anyone's ever got any questions or anything, or want tips or advice on how to get into the industry, or where to go to university, or the courses that should be taken, my messages are always open on social media platforms. So you're more than welcome to send me a message, and I'll try to help as best I can.
Fantastic. Well, Rob, I just want to say thank you very much indeed for taking the time to come in, speak to us today. Again, inspire us, some great words of wisdom coming from you today. Journalism is an ever-changing landscape. So for a lot of our audience who are watching this, who want to go into this career, just make sure that you understand how the business works. Keep your ears to the ground, be creative, as Rob said. Bring something different to the table, show your uniqueness, and don't be afraid to express that. And also, let your career find you. How good is that? You don't get any better advice than that. So, Rob, thank you so much again. I really appreciate you spending this time to talk to us and give us some words of wisdom. Thank you.